তুমি আবার একে তাকে ফোন করছো কেন? তুমি নিজেরটা রাখো, নিজেরটা রাখো শুধু। আমাকে দিয়ে রেখেছো অলরেডি, নিজের স্ক্রিনশট নেওয়া স্টার্ট হয়ে গেছে।
Good evening all. I, Dr. Suprakash Pan, HOD and Assistant Professor in Geography, Horinghata Mahavidyalaya, would like to welcome our respected resource speaker, Dr. Jitendra Kumar Patnaik, Associate Professor, Department of Geology, School of Environment and Earth Sciences, Central University of Punjab, Bhatinda, India, to the first one-day national webinar on an incredible journey to Antarctica, the White Continent, organized by Department of Geography and IQAC, Horinghata Mahavidyalaya, Subarnapur, Nadia, West Bengal, India, during COVID-19 pandemic lockdown situation. I would like to congratulate the members of organizing committee and other faculty members, staffs of Horinghata Mahavidyalaya for their inspiration. Especially thanks to Mr. Jyoti Narayan Patro, Chairman and TIC. Thanks to Dr. Asik Rusul, IQAC Coordinator. Thanks to Dr. Noirita Bandopadhyay, Joint Convener of this committee. My sincere thanks to our respected senior faculty members, Dr. Manik Moitto, Mr. Uddalok Rai, and Dr. Devashish Mullik. I am feeling proud to welcome all the participants and dignitaries from all over India and abroad, present in our Google Meet, YouTube Live, and Facebook Live platform. As a convener of this webinar, I convey my special thanks to Mr. Sashwata Sundar Laga, Department of ECE, Assistant Professor, Camellia Institute of Technology, Kolkata, who has technically supported very hard to make our webinar in a reality. I am feeling proud to inform you that we have got 1,576 participants from 22 states and 5 union territories of India. 8 international participants are also registered for this webinar. 43% students, 37% faculty members, and 14% research scholars have registered for this webinar. Once again, I want to heartily welcome you to this webinar and would like to address our resource person, Dr. Jitendra Kumar Patnaik, to start the presentation.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Suprakash. It is indeed pleasure for me to be part of this particular event, and I have spent nearly 5 years at Mohanpur, so it is like coming back home and presenting there at Haringhata Mahavidyalaya. So here I'll just present my slide. Yeah, thank you once again to whole organizing committee to giving me this opportunity to share with all about my journey to Antarctica. So as you can see, this title of the my talk is an incredible journey to Antarctica, the white continent. During this, the next 40 minutes or 1 hour, I will be talking about this Antarctica, and you will know why we are talking it as a white continent, and why this journey is so incredible and so close to my heart, because this kind of journey and the time what I have spent over there, nearly 3 months, is really incredible, and the experience is unique. So mostly during my talk, I will be sharing my experience over there and how to reach how to be part of this Antarctica expedition. I was one of the scientific member in the 36th Indian scientific expedition to Antarctica. It was between 2016 and 2017. I spent nearly 3 months during summer. Austral summer means in the Antarctica when the summer months are there. So in the background of this slide, if you can see the colorful picture, this is we call as a aurora. This is in the southern hemisphere we call as aurora australis, and in northern hemisphere we call aurora borealis. And in the australis, the term also I will explain. So this photo was taken by one 35th expedition member. Behind this, you can see one station. This station is our Indian station called Maitri. Under this talk, I will be talking about the background, about the Antarctica background, then journey, my stay over there, then social front over Antarctica research station. What are the different challenges, restriction, accessibility over there? How to prepare for such kind of expedition? What was my research problem? Then field work, followed by the question answer session. And in the background picture, you can see it is an automatic weather station. It was installed earlier, but we during our expedition we have done some maintenance work to this particular automatic weather station. First, I will start with this term Antarctica. When we talk about the Antarctica, this terminology actually came much later. But when you compare with the Arctic is in the northern pole. Arctic, that term came much earlier. It was like linked with one star cluster, that is Ursa, major Ursa. So from that, it looked like a polar bear. So from that, the term Arctic came. But Antarctica, it was just opposite to the Arctic. So the terminology came as Antarctica. In the different language, it has been described in different way. So you can see here, in throughout my talk, I will be using different names. So just have a look around the Antarctic, like Weddell Sea, Ross Sea, then the different islands over here, and you can see Africa, South America, and Australia. They are the closest continent to the Antarctica in terms of distance. Anyway, the Southern Ocean is surrounding this Antarctica continent. And these two stations, Maitri and Bharati, I will be touching about this Maitri and Bharati station. These two are the Indian research station. When you are talking about Antarctica, it's like more fascinating. People will take a lot of interest to hear about the Antarctica. Why it is so interesting? How it is different than other continents? So if you look at the Antarctica, it's the harshest place on the planet. It's the coldest, driest, and windiest place in on the Earth. And if you look at the areas, if you compare India and Antarctica, Antarctica is around 4 times larger than India. And if you look at the area, it is 98% of Antarctica is covered by ice, mostly by the ice sheet. And if you visit there, it's 100% adventurous. This is the last continent to be inhabited. No native people belongs to this particular continent. So that's why people refer it as a no man's land. And if you look at the history I will be talking after this one. If you look at the history, the 19th century, it was mostly people spent on discovering this particular continent. And in 20th century, it was the heroic age of expedition to Antarctica that I will be touching in my discussion. So in the first decade of the 20th century, it was the year when we reached the South Pole, and it was mostly exploration and scientific research initiated over Antarctica. And then 21st century, it is fast growing tourism. And if you look at overall Antarctica, it's a 50% of the year it remains dark. So when I was talking about this term Antarctica. If you look at the history, so the term actually came much later. So earlier people were referring to a land called Terra Australis, and it date back to the Roman time. In their scripture, they have mentioned about that particular land. They they believe that there should be a continent, there should be a landmass in the southern side. And if you look at the Aristotle, he has mentioned there must be a region bearing the same relation to the southern pole as the place we live in bears to our pole. Our pole is North Pole. And when Ptolemy came, what he thought, no, the Indian Ocean, towards the south end of the Indian Ocean, there should be a landmass. And in the northern hemisphere, the North Pole is surrounded by ocean. So to balance the Earth, there should be a landmass in the deep south, and it should surround the South Pole. That was his concept, his idea. So he mentioned about this, but by that time, nobody know where exactly and how, what kind of landmass it's there. If you look at some map, some globe, so this is the 1523 globe. It was the lost globe of John Sonno. So if you see, earlier people were not knowing whether this is a continent or a single landmass, a small islands. So they thought that there is a landmass and they are depicted in the globe. And there is another map you can see down here. They have put this larger area as Antarctica. So what happens earlier days when they tried to reach the southern point, that time what happened, they used to encounter different small islands, and then they think that that is the point where this continent starts. So terra australis map you see here also you can see it, it's like covering a larger part of the southern ocean, because once you reach there, there will be icebergs and ice, and then some islands will be there, so they cannot reach further south. So they have demarcated as a land beyond that particular point. So in the map you can see the larger area cover demarcating as a Antarctica. So I was talking about this exploration. People, I was telling initially there are many expeditions, but in the history, if you see, there are some important explorations where people came to know about this Antarctica or the shape and different configuration of the this Antarctica. So if you look at this, the in 1675, the first the reported or in the scientific expedition was there, just simply crossed the dark passage between South America and the Antarctica Peninsula. And after that, the major findings was by the James Cook in 1728 to 1779. He spent a lot of time and many expedition he did around circumventing the Antarctica. So many times he started from the South Africa, then he reached the New Zealand, then again he crossed this, then he reached the South America. So during his journey, he has reached very close to the this Antarctica. But the problem was during that time the ice barrier. If you see in the Antarctica, when you look at the image and other thing, that time you will see thick wall of ice. That is just after your water, there will be a thick wall of ice. You cannot put anchor there, or you cannot climb, or you cannot go. So finding way to reach to this continent was very much difficult, because the advanced technology was not so advanced, or the ship type were different. I will be talking some of these things. And for thereafter there are many expedition you can see. This is in the 19th century. It is mostly to find out, to locate the place where people can reach, further study they can take, and whether they can put the camp, they can know about that particular place. So you can see the list and the color indicating the path through which those expedition, those member actually traveled around this Antarctica. So so here you can see during that time when some the person or the expedition member reached particular place, and they named that particular sea or bay or the island, they named after them. So there are many places you can see. And if you talk about the heroic age of Antarctica exploration, there are n numbers. So here I have, for this particular talk, I have picked few of this heroic age Antarctica exploration. So to start with, this is a Belgian Antarctica expedition. It was between 1897 to 99. During that time, what happened? It's not only Belgian scientists who are there, but they have in their team there are people from different country, and they were for different purpose. They were the part of the team. Some people were from geology, some people were botany, some medical, the physician were there. There are different team members who are there. They took one ship, that Patria, and then they have renovated that ship, because that ship should be sustain that particular harsh condition. So after that, they named as a Belgica, and they took that particular ship. And that this was like they heard a very worst story. Actually, they locked in the Bellingshausen Sea, and they are trapped for many. whole winter, and then they could use dynamite, and they broke that ice, and then finally they could reach to the free water during January February time, and luckily they could able to come out from that particular area. But although they faced lot of problem, but still they could able to collect meteorological data for 1 year. And this is the first expedition over winter in the Antarctica. It was unfortunate that they had 4 or 5 teammates they died during that particular expedition. Then the next important expedition was the Southern Cross expedition, and it was by the captain who was leading the team, and he also took the Norwegian ship Polex and then converted to for this particular expedition, and they renamed as the Southern Cross. And this was for 2 years, 1898 to 1900. And during this time, they actually studied many things. They could able to reach the Antarctica mainland. He used to tell that he's the first person to step at the Antarctica mainland, but another person, Davis, he used to tell, no, I have reached fast. I have kept my leg there. And the best part of this expedition was they used dog and sledge to move in that ice. And the farthest point during this expedition, every year they used to fit a farthest point record. So if you look at the Southern Cross expedition, 78.5 degrees south was the farthest record they could achieve during their expedition. And during that time, they could able to calculate the South Magnetic Pole, and one team of those expedition member, they reached there and they saw that. And similarly, there was another interesting expedition discovery where the Robert Scott, Ernest Shackleton, Wilson, Tom, and William Lashley, they were the part, and later on those members they lead separate team and they did the different Antarctica exploration. So during this discovery expedition, they could able to reach further south 82 degrees 17 minutes. So this is the first time they ascend one of the peak, and they reached one Victoria Land, discovered Antarctica Plateau. There are many biological, geological and geological study they could able to conduct during that expedition. And German expedition was German people, what they did in the similar time, they also started another expedition, and that too explore the eastern part, eastern Antarctica. So during that time they could not reach that particular mainland, but they one small team they were housed at the Caribbean island, and the remaining team they went, but they could not reach the mainland. So they have discovered different islands, different place. And coming to the Scottish Antarctica expedition, that was very interesting expedition. But what they have done, they also got stuck in a ice, and then what they did, they somehow they managed to come back. They put one hut in a small island, and this is the first manned meteorological station established in the Antarctica Circle, and they could able to reach up to only 74 degrees south. And the Nirmod expedition, that was like earlier I was talking about this discovery expedition. One of the member under the guidance of Scott, he was a member of the team member in that discovery expedition. What he did, he actually initiated this Nirmod expedition by the Ernest Shackleton. And Scott was very furious when Shackleton thought to have a expedition separately. So Scott wrote, no, you cannot visit my place where I have started studying, that was around the Ross Sea. Okay, so but Shackleton got the money, and then he went there. And during that expedition, they could reach very close to the South Pole. If you see the latitude, 88 degree 23 minutes. It was only 180 kilometers away from the South Pole. They could not reach because of the health condition, shortage of food, and the blizzard, that harsh environment. Though they could not reach there, but yes, they could reach to the farthest south point up to 88 degree. And during that expedition, they could reach the South Magnetic Pole. They could reach the Mount Erebus. It is the second highest volcano in the Antarctica region. They could able to ascend to that Mount Airbus. The expedition was very successful, and he became hero after that particular one. Then after that, the next expedition, this the memorable expedition by the Roald Amundsen, that was the South Pole expedition. This Amundsen and the Scott, they were the rivalry during that time, and they were like conquering different part of the globe. They were going to North, the Arctic, and they were the part of different type of expedition. So they were always fighting who will reach first to the South Pole. So what Amundsen did, Amundsen know that Scott was starting the expedition to the South Pole. Amundsen, what he did, he publicized that he is going to the North Pole, and Scott was not a hurry to reach South Pole. So what Amundsen did on in between, actually, he turned his ship and he started his expedition to the South Pole. And with his team and using the sledge and dog, he could able to reach the South Pole in the 14th of December 1911. So that was the first day. People today also we celebrate that day to reach the Amundsen South Pole expedition day. And Scott was not knowing that Amundsen is going to the South expedition and reach the South Pole. What Scott did, Scott went with his team, and when he reached the South Pole, that time he saw the flag of Amundsen is lying exactly in the South Pole. And Scott was very disappointed, and the expedition name was Terra Nova Expedition. And while returning back, all the team member, including Scott, they died during that particular expedition. So this expedition, the journey, people have read, you can see plenty of book, the worst journey in the world, that is by the Scott, that Terra Nova expedition people used to write. And if you many people have published different books. So there is another very interesting book, Race for the South Pole. In that book you can see how the rivalry was there, and how these people were fighting for different expedition, and all these things are very nicely elaborated. So these are the different books. You can, if you have interest, then you can go through. You can, these are some e-copies are available, and you can buy and you can read. They are very interesting expedition story. During that time, three more expeditions are there. One is the second Antarctica expedition, that was actually failed expedition. They couldn't do much, but again the similar things happened to this second German Antarctica expedition. They were locked in the Weddell Sea, and they have to return back without getting any scientific observation from the Antarctica. Then the Australian Antarctica expedition, this Douglas Mawson, he was the part of earlier expedition, and he went from the Australia, and he could able to map around. He could map around 4,000 kilometer using the ship, and he could able to prepare a very nice map and the meteorological measurement, and then some geological sampling also he carried out. And why this Australian Antarctica expedition is I have kept here. This is the first expedition where they found meteorites from the Antarctica. And now, for the meteoric hunt, people from the different country, they used to have a different separate project, separate these things project over Antarctica. So another expedition, the memorable expedition, that was in between 1914 to 1917, that is Imperial Trans-Antarctica expedition. During this expedition, they made three different teams, and they tried to cross the Antarctica. Initially their plan was they will reach Weddell Sea and they will come out through the Ross Sea. So they have divided into three groups, and then they started this one. And the ship was the name of the ship, the Endurance. And here, just to show you, I have kept here. You just see the newspaper cutting. So Sir Ernest Shackleton, earlier he got lot of applaud because of the successful expedition to the Antarctica. But here again, when he planned during 1914-17, he advertised in the newspaper. The men wanted for hazardous journey, small whales, bitter cold, long month of complete darkness, constant danger, safe return doubtful, honor and recognition in case of success. So that was the advertisement for this Imperial Trans-Antarctica expedition. And you'll wonder, 5,000 applications he received, and out of that only 27 were selected for this particular expedition. And unfortunately, the Endurance was locked in the Weddell Sea in the ice, and they have to spend there. Then the ship as a whole drifted through the ice for months, and then they could able to somehow they could come out from the endurance ship, and they walked through this ice lock area. Then they swim through this particular icebergs, and they could finally reach the Elephant Island. And then people came and rescued from Elephant Island and brought them to South Georgia Island. So this story, you will find many book on this, the endurance. Okay, so it's a very interesting one. So during that time, it was the prime objective was for the exploration where people can reach and these things. And every during expedition, they used to monitor the collect the scientific data. Later, people thought, okay, no, this is not going to happen. This is not sufficient. We have to collect more data. So they required a permanent research station. In the research station in 1943, the first research station was started. And if you see during 1957 and 58, during the International Geophysical Year, people thought, okay, we this Antarctica is very pristine area to study different kind of phenomena. So to study aurora, to study the cosmic ray, geomagnetism, gravity, ionospheric physics, meteorology, seismology, solar activity, geology. So we should have a permanent research station, and we should give a more emphasis on the scientific these things. So now you see earlier the station started. Now you can see from the this image how many stations are there. The flags are there. Look at my pointer here. This is the Indian flag, Maitri station. And another newly established Indian station is here, that is Bharati. This is Maitri and this is Bharati. The distance between these two around 2,800 kilometer. And around this, not only the main Antarctica mainland, around that there are many small islands are there, and over islands also many research stations are established. So when people started establishing this research station, so slowly they started claiming about that particular continent. Initially I told that it's a no man country, but slowly people started dividing that continent. And yeah, if you remember during that Scott and Amundsen story, I was telling, Scott was telling Rossi area is my study area, nobody else can go and nobody else can study over there. So now you can see, so different part is this parts are divided into Australia claim, Norwegian claim, British claim. So these are the different part people started claiming from the Antarctica. So what happened in 1957? People thought, no, this is not going to do. So let us have a treaty. So everybody should follow this. So 12 countries came forward, and they formed one treaty. So now till now we are all the research station, whoever is going, they are following this Antarctica treaty. So in under this Antarctica treaty, there are 14 articles are there. Everybody, every person, whoever is going to Antarctica for the scientific or any other purpose has to follow this, or the country has to follow this. The Article 1 is states that no peaceful purpose only, military person allowed only for the peaceful purpose, for the scientific investigation. You can have the free exchange of informations. There should not be dispute or in the near to the Maitri. That name was Dakshin Gangotri. And the second station was Maitri station. Below this picture is for the Dakshin Gangotri. I will show you the Maitri station and Bharati station. Bharati station is a recent and very advanced station that is in 2012 it established. You can see the location of Maitri station and how it looks. It's an old station. It's in 1989 it was established. Bharati station is a modern station with very well equipped station that is in the Lasman Hill area. So now India is also planning for another station. These two Maitri and Bharati stations are permanent station. This Gangotri, although it is a permanent, but it was built on a fast ice. So slowly with year, what happened? It sank to the ice. Now you cannot see not a trace of this Dakshin Gangotri. You will find if you visit this particular place. It is completely submerged. And if you look at our hero, Indian hero, in 1981, first Indian Antarctica expedition, they took one ship from the Goa. It was a polar circle, and this member the list of the member you can see here. It was led by S.J. Qasim, and he was the from the Department of Environment. He's basically a marine biologist, and he lead the team. And there are many Navy Indian Navy person and other people. They were the first to reach Antarctica from India, and the expedition was for the 77 days. And if you look at the scientific program and Indian Research Station, atmospheric science, biological science, I'm not going into detail of this scientific program, earth science and glaciology, environmental science, human physiology, medicine. There are many more is already added. So if you look at this highlighted one, deglaciation history of Antarctica oasis, that was my research, and under this particular theme I visited this Antarctica. So how you will go to the Antarctica, what kind of preparation is required under this particular expedition? You have to prepare a scientific proposal, you have to submit to the NCO or Goa, then your proposal will be reviewed, then medical examination 6 day medical examination will be there at Delhi, then 21 days ITBP training, and 1 day fire safety training. 25th February I came back, and 22nd March I reached Bhatinda, Central University of Punjab, Bhatinda. If you look at this Maitri and Bharati station, our main route is through the Cape Town, via Cape Town. So you can have this yellow line indicate the ship route, and that green color line is by flight. Those are working only at Maitri and they don't have any study on the ocean, they can take the flight route. And if they have interest and they want to have a sample from the southern ocean, they take this ship route. And for the ship, we don't have, India don't have this ice cutter and this kind of ship, but now planning to buy. During our expedition, this Ivan Papanin, it was hired, and people actually, 36 expedition member, they went to Bharati first, then from Bharati to Maitri, and from Maitri back to the Cape Town. But I took this flight route because my work was only concentrated on around the Maitri. And if you look at this here, when they travel through this, when they cross the southern oceans are actually furious. So look at this. When this ship they cross 40-degree latitude, that the people called as a roaring 40. It's very heavily disturbed ocean. So furious 50 when they cross the 50-degree latitude, and screaming 60 when they cross the 60-degree latitude. That time that they called as a screaming 60, because the ocean is very rough, and your ship and these things should be well equipped with all kind of this hazardous journey. So just imagine, now we have sophisticated ship and all ice cutter, but earlier days when I was showing you other expedition, that time how difficult for them to reach this Antarctica. So it was just some of the photographs while moving this here. As Dr. Suprakash told me that many geography students will be there. This picture from the Cape Town, you can see this is the down one, the tabletop mountain. It's nothing but, in geography you might have studied the Mesa, and this here you can see Cape Town, the geological term Butte. So Mesa Butte, you can see they were very close, and it is from the Cape Town, and this is the Atlantic Ocean. Because why I kept here near this thing, you have one side you have Atlantic Ocean, other side you have Indian Ocean. If you touch the water, you will find the difference. Atlantic Ocean was very cold, and Indian Ocean was very temperature was high. So this was like the only boarding pass you will get while traveling to the Antarctica, this kind of white boarding pass. So this ship is not a regular ship. Only for 3 months this flight is operated from Cape Town to Antarctica. That too, this near to the Maitri. That airport is only maintained by Indian station and one Russian station. Depending upon the number of research scientists, they will just put the seat, and remaining part will be occupied by the cargo, mostly the supply to the different research station. So you can see the flag. We have a MOU with different country as well as this travel company. So Indian research scientists, they travel through this particular ship. And while traveling, when you will cross the Antarctica circle and Antarctic circle 66.5-degree, that time there will be a congratulation one, and announcement will come immediately. You switch your gear, so means change your dress and other things. So here, this is, look at the area where we have the Maitri station, and this is a Russian station. So these two stations maintaining this airport. This particular flight actually land on the blue ice. So this is near to that particular research station. So before coming out from the flight, There will be announcement. All these things you have, because sudden temperature change will be there. So you have to be careful. Even if you have not put your jeep, the jacket jeep, then what will happen that once you come out and put the jeep, then jeep will break. So those kind of instruction they will give. Even in the Cape Town also, we had 2 days of training to how to cope with these things. And these are the special type of vehicles that runs in the blue ice and in the Antarctica. So now you can see the Maitri station. This is, I was there for during the summertime. The first sunset we saw January 27th. Just imagine we reached there by 7th December, and day night it is you cannot differentiate. Only you have to watch the you have to watch the time, and okay, you fix that. Okay, this is the day and this is the night. So every time you will see the sun in the sky. And this blue color container, these containers are for the summer camp. So in one container, 4 members used to stay, and this is the research station. Mostly the winter member they stay inside the station. So in the inside the station, the hot oil is circulated, so temperature is maintained, so that you can live happily inside. But these containers are very pathetic. So this is a Google image. You can see the very tiny spot. This is the oasis where the our Bharat Maitri station is situated. So this is a Walthat mountain chain, and this is the ocean, southern ocean, ice shelf. So here, this is the Maitri station. So this, look at this. This area is all around this. You have ice, and in the small area is ice free. So those kind of area called oasis in the Antarctica, like in the desert, where water you have, we call as oasis. Similarly, in the Antarctica, wherever you have a ice free area, that called oasis. So it was like in 1939, one German person from Germany, he actually saw this Shrimachar oasis, and his name was Shrimachar, and after that, that particular place came as a Shrimachar oasis. And if you look at the area, it is 28 kilometer long and 3 kilometer wide, and around 100 freshwater lake is inside that particular oasis. So you can see the close view of the Maitri station. This is the Maitri station. This is summer camp. This is the area where the vehicle and other things, the maintenance are there. So this is a bird's eye view of Russian station. And Maitri station, you can see, and after blizzard, this summer hut, it will be covered by the ice. You have to remove the ice, then you can enter. So some difficulties are there. So and these small buildings, they are actually research lab. Each lab, this is IIG, Indian Institute of Geomagnetism lab. This is NIO Goa lab for water analysis. This is actually launch area for the summer members. Yeah. So this is some close view. So each of these hot names are given. Like for the summer launch area, the name Doda Beta. In South India, there is a peak, Doda Beta. So based on that, that name is given. You can see the inside the container, 4 members used to stay inside this one container. And there you have to have a special polar clothing. Like you have to have like minimum 3 layers of clothing required when you go out, because wind is very tough, and the temperature also very down. Yeah, you will have lot of packaged foods are there. You have the fresh food only during summer you can have. That too from the Cape Town, the supply used to be there. Otherwise, frozen foods will be there, and some cook also will be accompanying the scientific expedition member. This was the kitchen at the Maitri station. So everybody has to work here. So it's not that only cook. Whoever is part of the expedition, they have to serve at this kitchen and as well as other place. So this is a special type of vehicle. This is called piston bully. So to move around this area, you have the piston bully. During the ship time, you have the helicopter to go to the longer distance. You can take the helicopter, go there, do your research work, come back. This is a close view. And inside the station, we used to have different type of social gathering, like the Happy New Year celebration, Christmas celebration, so Republic Day celebration, all kind of these things we used to have there. Social gathering, because you outside, nothing is there, no tree, nothing. You have only limited color, even sky blue, white, ice, and rock color. Only 3 color. During winter, even that only white you will see. So people, the psychological people used to get depressed. So social gathering, interaction, that makes people happy and they can stay there for a complete winter. So here, like during this kind of occasion, we invite people from other country, Germany, Russia, and this thing. During that time, it's like you are representing the country. You are the ambassador of the India. So when they are also coming, they are also representing a country. So their flag, like proper way we used to celebrate over there. And interestingly, at the Maitri station, you have a recognized post office. Although throughout the year you don't have this access to this post office, but yes, that stamp and it's a recognized post office you have at Maitri station that is linked with the Northern Goa post office. And another interesting part over at Maitri, not this difficulty you won't get at Bharati station. This is at the Maitri station because it's an old station. Here, all the water, what the drinking water has to come from one lake that is called Priyadarshini Lake, that is named after our Srimati Indira Gandhi, ex-Prime Minister. So water used to be there, and there you cannot put any waste water. So whatever waste things are there, you have to treat and you have to bring back to the mainland. So in for the toilet also, it has specially designed. The yellow color one what you are seeing, that was designed by our DRDO. And there, after escape, one person will be assigned or duty to burn that, pack it in a container, and during the shipment you have to bring back to the mainland. So now we have at Maitri station electrical one, but still one person has to do all these things. So daily duty chart will be there, and everybody has to participate in this. So there you have some bird, this skua, this top one is skua, and the down one is penguin. The skua bird actually sitting in the top of the food chain. Even skua eats skua, and skua can eat penguin. Skua eat other snow petrel and small bird over there, and they, you can see them during summertime alone. And this was the visit to Russian station. Here you can see in the background, you can see one stake is there. Here some lines are written. So here actually from this point, how long is New Delhi, how long is Moscow, how long is Washington. So that kilometer and the name is written in this side. This is the logo. This is inside the Russian station. In the background, we see this thing about the heroic age expedition is printed on a wooden piece, and you can see these things inside the Russian station. This is during my field work. Some pictures. I will just skip this thing here. Some interesting feature I will show you. See, during when the ice move on the top of the rock, that time what happened? The ice carry lot of rock in within that. So rock when interact with the rock, it put the striation marks. You can see the lines. These lines are actually indicating of the ice movement. So I have taken reading of these things because it was the part of my work. So I have taken some reading. So here you can see some, because of the ice melting, this particular Nunatak is coming out from this particular one, this particular continental ice sheet. And this during my 2016, the temperature reached up to 5 degrees. So you can see the melt water coming to the ocean. So you can see here the challenges, like the wind blow, that speed is much higher. I was just coming down as descending from one peak, so the wind speed is so high. I was just inclined, but I'm not falling because the wind speed is so high over there. So these are the challenges while doing the field work. If you have blizzard, then you cannot do the field work. Before going for the field work, you have to have a radio. Somebody else has to accompany. You have to write in the station that in this direction you are going, your expected coming time. If you are not coming, then one search team will also go to search you. So every time you should be in contact with the station through radio. If you miss or if you going to longer distance, then one search team also will follow you. So when I was talking about this wind pattern, harshest wind, why it is so? Because as we know, this is on the Antarctica, this is the South Pole. Above this, you have the polar vortex. So always high pressure will be there. And around this, you can see the Southern Ocean. Always there will be a low pressure, and it will be circumferencing this Antarctica. So always there will be wind blow, and the wind speeds are much higher. And yeah, because of this polar vortex, you can have this strong westerly wind. Always you will find in the Antarctica. So if you look at the Maitri forecast of the Maitri station, there are IMD people also go, and they every day they collect the data. So now we are somewhere uh, 16, 18. Oh, yeah. So temperature minus 12. You can see this is the yesterday I have taken this data. So you can see now it is minus 12. This is the temperature, and wind chill temperature will be much lower, around 7 to 8 degree lower than this. So now you this is June, so it is approaching the complete darkness. Another challenge is that UV light, the UVB radiation is much higher over there. So you can see this is the expected, and these things, and this is for the northern hemisphere. This is for the southern hemisphere. Due to ozone hole, the UV radiation in the Antarctica was much higher during this 2000 and this 2010 and all. Now, luckily, what happened? This ozone hole actually depleted, is now healed actually. This ozone hole mostly because of the CFC use of CFC gas. After Montreal Protocol, people actually followed that. They didn't use in the refrigerator and the freezer, and now because of that, this ozone hole actually depleted, and now it is healing. And another problem you will face over there, the Brunton or the compass what you are using for the normal navigation, your Brunton will not work because you are very close to the South Pole. So normal Brunton and compass, it will not work. So, and that too, the South Pole, the magnetic pole and not magnetic pole, it's not constant. It will not stay at one place. So it is moving. So you can see 98, 2004, 2007, 2015, how it is changing. Roughly nearly 100 kilometer, it will move. So during that also, field work also, you will face problem while using the compass. You can see here, it's not about the South Pole alone. South Pole, when you are talking, the geographic South Pole is one, it is an imaginary pole. Then other than that, you have South Magnetic Pole, you have South Geomagnetic Pole, you have South Pole of inaccessibility. So 1, 2, 3, 4, what you are seeing here, this is representing this different pole. Indian scientific expedition, they also went up to the South Pole, that is in the 2010, and they started from Maitri. They took the inland route and they reached South Pole in 9 days. In the 9 days, they covered 2,300 kilometers by land. And here some picture you can see the country. Those who are in the first tier, 12 country that is surrounding the South Pole. In the South Pole, in the exact point, geographic north south, you will have this ceremonial marker in the center. So this is the climate data. It's already time is over. So I'll show you this climatic data. If you see all the temperature are minus 60, minus these things. So now what we are seeing in the Antarctica, it is completely covered by the ice, whether it was same as earlier or not. When we talk about the history, which is recorded history, that is different. But when we come talk about the geological history, Antarctica was completely different. If you look at this, India, Antarctica, Australia, Africa, they all were together, part of the Gondwana land. So you can see an animation here. So the first full-scale ice in the Antarctica that only occurred during 34 million year back, and the maximum ice was in during the 15 million year back. And there in between there are some fluctuation because of this ice. Lot of many for flora fauna they got extinct from the Antarctica. Why it occurred? You look at this passage. This is between South America and the Antarctica. This dark passage that developed because of that South Ocean and the current started circumferencing this Antarctica. Because of that climate change, and what you are seeing the completely ice sheet over there. But if you remove all the ice, you will see this brown color one. This is one, and the many area is a low-lying area. Lot of lakes are there. If you take a cross section over here, around 3 to 4 kilometer thick ice is present in this both eastern side and western side. East Antarctica ice sheet is a larger one. West Antarctica ice sheet is a smaller one in terms of extent. Thickness wise also, East Antarctica ice sheet is much thicker. So here it is little bit about people have studied different areas. So people have marked during last 20,000 year how the ice extents are decreasing. Here two things are happening. One is high thinning, another is shrinking. Shrinking means the extent is reducing. So both things. Some researcher they studied some part of the ice sheet, and they informed that the thickness is increasing. But many researchers, when they study the ocean and the peripheral part, they tell it is shrinking. So the lot of more study is required. But when we talk about this ice sheet, it's not a single sheet. There are different dome, different segments, and their movements are different. Their extent to the ocean is completely different at different segments. So much study is actually required. So if you look at the temperature thing, as you know, when you are talking about the global temperature, and when I was just showing you the 20,000 year back, what happened in the Antarctica. But if you extend that the temperature to 60 million year back, the things are completely different. The temperature was around 12 degree higher than the present, around 50 million year back. And Antarctica glaciation actually took place around 34 million year back. Here you can see this thing drop. And then in the Antarctica, it was like again heated up, temperature was high. Then uh, around 15 million year back, Antarctica actually frozen, and what you are seeing today, the maximum glaciation you are seeing, that is in the present time. So if you further enlarge this from 0 to 5 million year, you will see the temperature actually dropping, and now it is slowly it's shooted up. So that when it will shoot it up, what will happen? Why we are so much worried? If you look at the geological history, temperature earlier it was much higher, but now when it is shooted up, then what will happen? What will happen? Let us concentrate on the last 20 kilo year. In the last 20 kilo year, what happened? The glacial extent was maximum. So sea levels are 120 meter below the present sea level. But because of this temperature increase, so this Antarctica ice sheet and the other ice sheet, they started melting. So because of melting, what happened? Sea level rose. So you see here MWP. This is the Antarctica, the meltwater phase 1A. So you see drastic change in the sea level. So now we are somewhere here, but 20,000 year back, the sea level was 120 meter below the present level. So if such kind of event takes place, then the sea level will affect many islands and the coastal area. So that is the main reason why people are much worried about the Antarctica ice retreat and all. Yes, these are the different process. Uh, I will already I have taken more time as the designated one. I will just skip this thing. I will show some of my part. So yeah, during my expedition, you can see the dots. So these dots are the point where I have visited. I covered this many area, 1, 2, 3. I have covered, and some part of the fourth, and I have covered, and I have collected sample from this area. And in my next visit, I will be covering this part. This part was difficult to reach, and so I will be covering this part to collect some more sample. These are some of my sample location. This is the photographs during sample collections. So these are the ice movement actually I have measured, and I have plotted here over the latitude longitude. The direction of the ice movement you can see here. Yes, I will stop because I have not explained the research problem, so I am not touching the concluding remarks here. What I have listed down, but I hope I have shared some of my experience, and it will be beneficial for you people. Yes, for this particular expedition, my honorable Vice Chancellor Professor R.K. Kohli, he encouraged me a lot, and I must thank him. And then Dr. Felix Bast, he was my co-expedition member from the same university, CUPB, and he also wrote a book on his expedition. His work was different. He went through the ship to Bharati station. I was at the Maitri station. And I also thank this NCOR. Now it is NCPOR. Earlier it was National Center for Antarctica and Ocean Research. Now they have changed the name to NCPOR, National Center for Polar and Ocean Research. Because now India work both Antarctica as well as Arctic and as well as Himalaya, what we call as the third pole. So they have changed the name. Now it is NCPOR Goa, and I was the part of this 36th ISCA, and I express my purpose to thank to my family, my wife. She was alone when I was in that 4 month expedition, and my students, because they were handling my lab during my absence. And these were my scientific expedition member. We stayed there at Maitri. Some were winter member, but most of us were the summer member. We are there. They are from the different institutes. Thank you. If you have question, please feel free to ask me. And background, you can see there is a very interesting picture called Pressure Ridge. Yeah.
Thank you, sir, for your enlightening presentation. We have received many questions from the participants, and the first question is addressed to you. So it's from one of our participants. So he's asked, what inspired you to explore Antarctica?
Very nice question. Thank you. See, actually, towards end, because of the time limit, I couldn't explain my research work. Okay. So my interest was, I was showing you this oasis that is that ice-free area. When you look at the map, whole area is covered by ice, or ice sheets are there, sea ice are there, but small patch in the Antarctica is ice-free. The question comes, why that particular area is ice free? So when I searched the literature, that time I found at many area people have studied and they have some conclusion. But thing is, when you are looking at a continent, this from every part we have to have some data, some research needs to be done and to answer this question. That was actually inspired me to write the proposal to visit that particular area and collect the sample to answer that question, why that particular area is ice free, if it is ice free, when it got ice free, and what is the reason behind that, how it is linked with the paleoclimate and the present climate. That was the main reason behind this particular expedition. I
Okay,
hope I answered your question. Yeah.
Yes, so the second question we've received from YouTube Live. How was the experience different than what you imagined?
Okay, thank you. Thank you for this question. Yes, before reaching there, what generally when you don't know a particular place, then you depend on the some book, some story, or somebody's experience. So during this training, I was undergoing this medical examination. I was undergoing with this hourly training. So during that time, some members were present who already visited that area, so they used to explain, they used to tell us what to do, what don't. So those things they used to tell, and my imagination was completely different. But when I landed, when I kept my foot in the blue ice after coming out from the flight, my perception or my imagination was completely different than what I saw there. So it's completely different. Yes. And now the another interesting thing is, like when we are staying here, we know day night, and when from the book we are studying, okay, they are 6 month day, 6 month night. Until unless you stay there, it is difficult to imagine how it will be. So when I reached there, I was seeing that sun is moving in the sky only. And the first day in 27th January, when we were waiting for the sunset was only for the 10 minutes or even less. So there are many things. The experience is completely different. Yeah, what I have imagined and what I experience is completely different.
Okay, the third question is from Facebook Live. So someone has asked, like, if we aspire to go there, from how early should we take preparation?
Okay, so there are different provision. One is uh, as a scientific member, if you are in a particular institute, you write a project proposal. Every year there will be a call. You apply for the project. Then the project can be a long run project or a short run project. You apply for that. Once the project is reviewed, once the project is selected, then you will go for the different training. Medically you have to fit, physically you have to fit, mentally also you have to be very fit. Otherwise, it will be difficult. You have to cross this testing, but after reaching also, it will be difficult for you to cope up with. The second thing, research scholar. If research scholar is associated with a particular project, which is already from the Antarctica or Arctic, you can be part of that. Student program is different. Faculty program is different. Other than that, for a normal person, uh, they also take some logistic team. Logistic, like means a layman who is not in a institute, not in a, these things, but he's a skilled person, skilled as a carpentry, skilled as a these things. So those people also accompany the expedition member. So scientific member if 10, the logistic people will be 20. So there are different way one can be part of this particular expedition.
Okay. Another question addressed to you is, how did you find the aurora experience, and how was it different from the northern pole aurora?
See, the northern, I have not seen the northern pole aurora. That aurora borealis, I have not seen. Only the aurora australis. That too, when actually we left, that time it was very faint. It was not so clear. The picture what I have shown you, aurora australis, that was not taken by me. It was the source also I have mentioned. It was by one of member, but he was there during October, September, October. That time he could click that picture. But when we were there, we saw very faint aurora actually.
Okay. Another question, sir. What kind of food should one expect for survival?
In the research station, you will get all kind of food, but the problem is, like from India, the ship main that supply when it will start from Goa or Mumbai, and by that time it reach the Antarctica, it will be like 1 year because it will go to Cape Town, then from Cape Town to these things. And once it is reached there, the temperature and the environment is such a way that it will not get damaged. So frankly speaking, when I was there, I was eating biscuit of 2012. I was there in 2016, but it was very good. It was like fresh thing. And you have fresh provision, but fresh food in the sense fresh vegetable, onion or potato or these things, that is supplied from Cape Town to this Maitri station. But other things, mostly the frozen one is stocks are there, and you can have those things. In the Maitri
Drinking
station,
water also you get from there,
chapati, everything you will get. Like Indian food, you will get, no problem.
and drinking water. What is the source?
Drinking, there is a lake. So the from that lake, that water they used to pump, and there is a specialized pump because in the winter there is a big heater around that because it will be completely covered by ice, and the pipe also covered by the heater. So first you have to collect put the water, then you have to put a compressed air. The pipe should be clean, and then again you have to seal it and you have to keep it. So you will get, but the problem is not about the water. The problem is the treating water after use. So treatment is difficult. So you have to treat all the water and then only you can discard. So for that, every day you will not get a chance to take bath. I got a chance to take bath after 13 days. So your list will come after 13 day. I got the chance to take a bath. So yeah.
Okay, we will be taking up two more questions before we finish it.
Yeah.
Did you see the icebergs breaking and witness the melting of ice sheets?
No, I have seen the continental ice sheet that is melting, that is breaking. Iceberg I have not seen. I took flight from the Cape Town, so iceberg I have not seen, but I have seen the continental ice sheet as well as the glaciers. Some tongues are there that is melting, and I was showing you one picture. That year the temperature was high. It reached positive 5 degree in the daytime. It was quite high for that region, and a lot of melting was there that in that year 2016-17. Yes.
Okay. We have a question from a student in Google Meet. Did you find any evidence of the healing of ozone holes?
No, ocean hole evidence you will not get. I'll just tell you, there is like if you take a paper and if you take a pen and puncture it, you will see some hole. Ocean hole is not like that. Ocean hole, we have two layer of ozone. One is called bad ozone, one is a good ozone. Good ozone is in the stratosphere. The whole what we are talking, that concentration of ozone in the stratosphere, if it is less, then we call it as a ozone hole. It is not that the one area is completely devoid of ozone. It's not like that. So in the stratosphere, when the ozone concentration is reduced or less, that time UV light can penetrate down and it will be harmful for human and other organisms. So that we called as a ozone hole. So when you have UV radiation high, the indirect observation is like when you have the UVB is high in a particular area, then it indicates indirectly that ozone concentration might have less in the stratosphere. And the bad ozone, what I was telling, that is from the pollution that lies in the lower tropospheric level. But here ozone hole, I was talking that is for the stratospheric ozone.
Okay. The last question we are taking up from one of our faculty members who has asked in Google Meet, what kind of research work is generally conducted in the research stations there?
Okay, thank you. So, thank you for this question. As I have listed down many research activity and the area, but I will just brief again. So, different country have their different mandate, different area research activity. So, if you talk about Indian research point of view, we have a study on the atmospheric science. It's like space. It's about the ionospheric data. We also collect the geomagnetic data. We collect the IMD, that meteorological data also we collect. We collect this ozone data. We do their seismic study. We do some gravity analysis. We like me, like geologist, they go there, they collect. My work is related to the paleoglaciology, and then you have some people that do on the environmental science. Some biologists are there. They collect sample from the ice, collect sample from the lake, collect sample from the ocean. From there, they search for the biota. They search for the different microbes, algae. So whether those things can be helpful in different any other way, because that environment is different in the extreme environment, how those microbes or the organisms are living over there. Those studies are people are carrying out. Even inside the ice also there are different type of bacteria and some microbes. Those people also collect and they do study on that. So there are different diverse field. The people from diverse field they go there. People also collect ice core from the ice shelf, ice core from the continental ice sheet, and they measure that. Like what is the oxygen means, what is the age, and all this stable isotopic study they do. Some groups are there, many groups are there. They are monitoring the movement of continental ice sheet. They put the stack and they do that study, movement of continental ice sheet.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you so much, sir. With this, we will end the webinar. And before ending, I'd like to extend the vote of thanks first to you for your valuable and very enriching presentation. And I'm sure it has inspired many students to carry on their expedition in Antarctica in future. So I would like to extend my vote of thanks first to the chairman and TIC of our college, Mr. Jyoti Narayan Patra, coordinator of IQAC, Dr. Ashik Rushul, convener of this committee, Dr. Shuprakash Pan, our senior members, Dr. Manik Moitro, Dr. Udalok Rai, Mr. Udalok Rai, Mr. Taroknath Chattopadhyay, Ananya Kayen, Shantanu Bera, our Department of Geography faculty members, and our technical support, Mr. Shashwata Sundar Laga, who has wonderfully arranged everything for us to make this webinar a success. And thanks to our head of the department, again, Mr. Shubhavash Pan, for coming up with this idea of a webinar. And it's our first to be conducted from Department of Geography. So thanks to all the members for joining us and for your cooperation and for bearing with us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Really, this during the COVID time, during this pandemic time, it actually helped us to reach to many people, and through this webinar, we can have this kind of event. Because if you just imagine in case of physical presence, visit to one place and then gathering, it will be difficult at many a time, and bringing many people into the one platform. So in one way, this during this pandemic we could able to arrange such kind of event. Thank you so much, Dr. Suprakash, to
Thank
invite
you.
me to this particular this thing event, and I congratulate the Haringhata Mahavidyalaya, that all organizing team to arrange such kind of event. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. On behalf of Horinghata Mahavidyalaya, I'd like to thank again to our respected resource person, Dr. Jitendra Kumar Pattanaik, TIC sir, IQAC sir, Norita madam, viewers sir, and all other faculty members. Thank you, all participants. Thank you.
Thank you so much.